Hello, how's everyone doing? It's your main guy, DFS Sosa, coming to talk about week 3 DraftKings for the most part, or just week 3 main slate review. I don't know, thoughts, lessons that we can take out of week 3. Um, and I'm gonna be posting this video on Reddit. If you're seeing this from Reddit, find the link in the description of the video, click on it, join the Discord. Because I'm posting this on Reddit, but this video is mostly geared towards the Discord server I'm in, where I make videos, recommendations, articles, things like that. And overall, like, I just want to make it clear, like, I'm not like a professional at NFL DFS. I feel like I'm pretty good. I feel like I'm pretty close to being a professional. But a few bad habits that are hard to kick, I feel like are really holding me back. In week 3, I feel like overthinking the slate really came back to haunt me. And kind of being too aggressive with trying to fade ownership, things like that. So overall, the lesson of the slate is to don't overthink things, and you don't get bonus points. Like, just to remember, like, you don't get bonus points if your whole lineup is full of 1% owned plays. Because I'm so aggressive with NFL DFS, I find myself in positions to where I don't know if anyone's like 20% owned, 15% owned. I'm like, oh, let's fade them, fade. We're going for all the 1% owned plays, low owned, high upside. Let's go after those high scores. And I know that's wrong, but I kind of get lost in that aggressive nature. Because if you look at winning lineups, like throughout all of DFS time, like throughout the entire history, you're gonna see some high owned players mixed with some low owned players. So you do not have to fade someone just because they are high owned. Now, sometimes there is bad chalk to where a player may be 20% owned, 30% owned, and you feel like it's silly for them to be that high owned. I didn't know that Saquon and Kyle Pitts are going to be so high owned, at least in the tournaments I was entering. A lot of single entry, higher dollar tournaments, like $200, $250 entry fees. In those tournaments, Saquon Barkley was like 30% owned. Kyle Pitts was like 25% owned. So if I would have known that, to me, that's bad chalk. I would have faded that. But in the case of Cooper Kupp, which single-handedly ruined my week, I wouldn't say he was bad chalk. So, coming into the week, my favorite game to stack was Tampa Bay versus the Rams. I know they had the highest Vegas total. Like, it wasn't some like super sharp move, but I felt like Vegas was on the money this week as far as that game was accurately projected to be the highest scoring game. Now, neither team was a high scoring team. It was the Bills, but we'll get there soon. But I thought both quarterbacks, Brady and Stafford, were in great spots. Thought it was going to be a good game environment, a lot of passing attempts, a lot of scoring. Yet I full faded Cooper Kupp. Looking back on it, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, these high ownership rates, 33, 35, 40% in the super high dollar stuff. Just seeing those numbers, me, again, naturally being aggressive, I'm just like, oh, fade. But if I think Stafford is going to have a peak day and or Brady's going to have a peak day, and, it worked out more for Stafford instead of the Tampa Bay side. But in the case of Stafford, I mean, that's a lot of ego and confidence talking if you're saying Stafford's thrown for 4 touchdowns and none of them is going to Cooper Kupp. He's going to throw for 350 yards, but Cooper Kupp's going to have like less than 60 yards. Because really, if you faded Cooper Kupp, that's what you're hoping for. Like a 5-catch, 60-yard game, no touchdown, the chalk, fails, and then you win all the money. But to believe in Stafford that much and have that much confidence or ego involved to be like, I know exactly where the touchdowns are going and it won't be Cooper Kupp, that to me, that's being too aggressive. Because there's plenty of ways you could have been unique, mixed in some low-owned plays to make that chalky Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp lineup more unique. So fading just to fade, fading just because you want to be aggressive, you want to look really smart with your lineup full of 1% owned plays, it's just wrong. And I know that, but we're trying to get better, trying to get more consistent together in this Discord. That's why when you guys ask me questions about should I use this player, should I stack up this game, you have to really show me some really horrible, like a really horrible play for me to be like, no, don't use him. Just because I know, like in my rant in the video I made last week, NFL is super unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. Like the Chiefs had, 4 turnovers? No one would have guessed that. No one would have said, oh yeah, this is a 2 interception game for Mahomes, 4 turnovers, Kansas City loses. Jacksonville was like winning a little bit against Arizona. Arizona eventually came back, but like the public isn't going to be able to predict how all these games are going to go. And even if you do predict how all the games are going to go, let's say you just caught lightning in the bottle and you went 16-0 with predicting the winners and losers of a game. With DFS, we're also trying to predict how that game is going to go. So how are they going to win? Are they going to win on the ground? Are we going to use the running backs? Or are they going to win because of the passing game? Are we using the quarterback, the receiver? Or maybe they just win because of defense, and we should just use their defense. They have like a special teams touchdown or interception return. Like, there's so many things we're trying to get right here. Like, you shouldn't fade someone just because they're high owned. And that Cooper Kupp fade, that was purely just because he's high owned. And naturally, part of me is just like, he's a wide receiver. Wide receivers are naturally really volatile. Like, I'm more willing to fade a high-owned wide receiver than I am a high-owned running back. Like, running back production, like a Christian McCaffrey, a high-end running back especially, we can kind of predict how many times they're going to touch the ball. They're more consistent. To where a high-valued or high-skilled receiver, like Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, like, they're more volatile. Did they catch the 70-yard touchdown or did they not? That could be their whole week right there on that one play. So naturally, seeing a receiver that high owned, I wanted to just fade. But if I agreed with the game environment, it doesn't make sense for me to take Cooper Kupp out of my player pool completely when I was so heavy on that game environment. Because even though I had Stafford, even though I had Brady, I didn't have any good tournament finishes because you needed Cooper Kupp in those lineups to really make that all work. That was an easy correlation right there. So yeah, you don't get bonus points for fading. Don't be too aggressive. It's okay to play chalk. You can mix in high owned plays with your low owned plays. Every single winning lineup ever has some high owned plays in it. Now, with all that being said, I'm fading Cooper Kupp again next week. And I promise this time there's like actual reasoning behind it, because I guess, again, I'm not a professional. Like, I don't do this for a living. I just make money doing this as a side hobby. I still work a 9-to-5 basically. And I have a finance background. And with my finance background, it's just drilled into my head to buy low and sell high. I'm fading Cooper Kupp, and I have actual reasoning this time other than he's going to be high owned. I'm fading him next week just because to me, using Cooper Kupp now, especially as someone who's faded him week 2 and week 3 and has got burned by him twice, using him in week 4, to me, that's the definition of buying high. His price went from $5,800 week 1. He's now $7,800. It went up $2,000. I think he's the 3rd highest priced receiver. He's caught touchdowns every single game, weeks 1 through 3. If anyone scores if any receiver or tight end scores a touchdown 3 weeks in a row, I'm gonna fade him week 4. Just off of the sheer odds of, to get ceiling performances out of these players to win tournaments, we need touchdowns. And how often do you see, like, oh, so-and-so receiver, so-and-so tight end, this is his 4th game in a row with a touchdown? That's really hard to do. So I'm fading Cooper Kupp on that basis. Like, I have an actual reason other than he's going to be high owned, because he will be high owned again. I don't think the price increase is going to scare that many people off. So he's going to be high owned again, but I have actual reasons. I'm going to fade him. I messed up week 2 and week 3 for fading him for no reason, but just because I messed up those, week 2 and week 3 doesn't mean I'm going to mess up again week 4 by breaking one of my rules and buying high and using a player that has scored a touchdown 3 weeks in a row. Again, that's my reasoning. If you feel like that's a stupid reason, then use Cooper Kupp if you like him. Like, whatever. I'm not trying to convince you to not use him. I'm just letting you guys know what I'm doing, just based on my playing style. And, even if he does perform and he's that rare exception and he has a touchdown for a 4th game in a row, which would be crazy. In my head, I'm like, well, what are the odds he scores basically 30 points again for the fourth week in a row? And even if he does that, then I'm like, well, maybe I can match him. And if he really scores 35, 40 points and I lose again, I just lose again. But I'm not buying high on Cooper Kupp. I have actual reasons to fading him. But week 2 and week 3, I didn't really have that many good reasons to fade him. And I paid for it. But, again, I made those mistakes. I'm not going to just jump in and make another mistake. Well, I feel like will be another mistake by using him week 4 just because I missed out the past 2 weeks. Like I said, we're going to get to Josh Allen. And this video is going to be over soon. I'm not going to go on another 30-minute rant, I promise. So, Josh Allen. If you watched my week 3 video breaking down the slate with Kwame, shout out to KJ. When we got to the Bills-Washington game, my analysis basically was I love Josh Allen. I stacked him up all 2020. I felt like coming into the year he was going to struggle, which I was right about. And Kwame asked me, or like we were talking about, so it was week 3, the right week to jump back in. We faded them week 1 and week 2. We predicted some struggles. It'll take them a few weeks to get back on track. And I told Kwame, no, I think I'm going to fade him again. I think the stock's going to go a bit lower. I'm going to hope to jump in next week or week 5 when he may be like 1% owned after burning people 3 weeks in a row. Josh Allen was 5% owned. And in the high dollar stuff, well, not necessarily. He was basically even. I'm not playing in like the $4,000 tournaments. I'm more in like this third tier right here. Those are the types of tournaments I'm playing in. Just small field though. But in those tournaments, he was 7% owned, 6% owned. If you entered a single entry tournament, he was probably even lower, like 3% owned. Yet I didn't use him. And my main reason why that I made the point is, I just want to get him when he's 1% on. That's just being aggressive. That's wanting to be the smartest person in the room and say, I bought in at Josh Allen when no one else did. Like, he's already low owned enough. He's not like he was 12, 15% owned and I was kind of nervous. Like, he was 6% owned, and I didn't use him because I wanted him to be even lower ownership. I don't know. It's a stupid reason. And, that's the whole point of this video, just to kind of get these feelings out there, learn these lessons, have this documented, go on these rants. But you don't get bonus points for having a 1% owned player in your lineup. I'm going to keep harping on that. Those fantasy points are worth the same amount whether they're 1% owned, they're on a 1% owned player or a 30% owned player. So fading Josh Allen just because I'm hoping he does bad again, even though I knew this was his best matchup of the season. I thought Pittsburgh would be a tough matchup for him. I thought Miami would be a sneaky tough matchup. I know historically he's done well. Week 3, Washington's defense was bad. We knew that coming into the season, or at least I was talking to some of my closer friends. I felt like Washington's defense was overvalued. Good spot, 5% owned. Didn't use him because I wanted him lower. That's just being greedy. That's just that ego and confidence showing. And we got to keep that stuff in check when we're building lineups, when we're talking through lineups. If we're fading people, we're fading bad chalk, and we're fading stuff like people if we have legit reasoning, not just because they're high owned. And if we feel like someone's in a good spot, we play them. Even if they're 8% owned and we prefer, of course we want it lower, but we play them. Josh Allen was in a good spot. We should have just played him. I should have just played him. I should have recommended him. But I didn't because I just wanted it to be a bit lower. And I feel like mistakes like this is why I wouldn't actually call myself like a professional. Because I feel like if I fixed those mistakes, week 2, I would have won like 10 grand. If I would have rearranged my Seahawks, like Derrick Henry lineup, without having, being so locked into DK Metcalf. Choosing DK over Lockett cost me 5-10 grand. Like, I would have been in the mix right there. And then in week 3, being greedy and saying, I'm fading Cooper Kupp just because he's high owned. Even though I think the team he's on is going to score like 35 points. Even though I think Tampa Bay and the Rams are going to be the best shootout of the week. And being greedy and overconfident and not using Josh Allen because he's going to be 6% owned. I don't want to use him. I want him at 1%. Simple mistakes that could have been the difference between, those losses. I took a slight loss in week 2, a bigger loss in week 3 as far as bankroll goes. I could have, as far as bankroll goes, I talk really fast. I'm trying to fix that. Sorry. But I took those losses. They could have been huge wins with just adjustments, dropping the ego, dropping the overconfidence, and really making sure I'm thinking things all the way through. But we're here to get better. Again, I'm not a pro. I feel like I will be in like another year or two. I honestly do. Maybe that's ego talking, but I don't know. The results are bearing out to where I've made more and more money every single year, starting from 2015 to, now we're in 2021. I've been doing this a long time, but until we, fix these last few kinks with like being too aggressive with ownership, I feel like that's going to hold me back. And then when you're making your own personal lineup, just make sure you have that in check as well. Because I've noticed some other people that I talk to, play DFS with, things like that, they kind of fall into that same boat. Okay, I'm done ranting. I'm already at 16 minutes. I'm kind of freaking out that I'm going to take too long. Last thing I wanted to show you guys is this was my 2020 like bankroll tracker. I stopped after week 12 because I actually started using a program that just let me upload my entries automatically. But I'm showing you this just because I feel like on fantasy Twitter, fantasy Reddit, in the Discord, there's like some feelings of, we lost week 2, we lost in week 3. Like people, like their hope is starting to dwindle a little bit. My motto with everything that we're doing here is we're not supposed to win every single week. We're supposed to just put ourselves in positions so that when we are right, we win big. And those few big wins in a season will pay off the whole season. Now, I'm showing you this just so you guys can see, I guess, how my bankroll went and how naturally you're going to have these losing streaks. Week 5 through 7, I lost a ton of money. But then in week 8, I didn't, I still stayed on it. And that's why I had my big win. That kind of changed the whole season. Had another good win in week 3 and in week 9. Those 3 weeks really defined my whole season last year. Because I know the numbers aren't here, but I can let you know. I lost money week 11. I lost money week 12, 13, 14, 15. Like, there was a big losing streak, 11 through 15. Week 16 and 17, I had slight profits. So overall, instead of like profiting 30,000, it got knocked down to like around 24,000 because of the losing streak here. I'm not complaining or anything. Like $24,000 from a side hustle, like that's great. I love it. But those losing streaks are just going to be in there. I can promise you that. And we can't just lose hope, start to change our strategy, drastically change what we're doing. We're not going to stop stacking, stop correlating just because we lost the past 2 weeks or maybe the past 3 weeks. I won money week 1, but if you lost money in week 1, I mean, you're on a 3-week losing streak. I've seen much worse. I've been through much worse myself, like 6-7 week losing streaks. And then even if you do lose money 7 weeks in a row, again, not preferred. We want to avoid that. A good week 8 can make up for all that, and then you're back in the green. So stay consistent, stay focused, manage your bankroll, think about it in the long run, keep stacking, don't lose hope. And let's get better each week. And let's win some money week 4. I love week 4 a lot. I was going to do like a bit of a week 4 preview, like way early preview, but we're already at 19 minutes. I'll cut the video now. Join the Discord, link in the description. Appreciate you guys. And I'll just see you in the Discord. Go Philly for Monday night.